Hello and welcome everyone to our webinar today. Our topic is Hot Topics in Nutrition for 2018. And my name is Maria Givler and I am one of the dietitians here at PEHP. And I'm excited to be with you today. So our objectives are, we'll look at some of the newest items on grocery store shelves, why they're trending. With over 40,000 different products in our grocery stores, I've picked just a few. We only have a half an hour today. So the next thing we'll look at includes some hot topics in nutrition research. And then we will look at the theme for 2018, National Nutrition Month, which is an annual celebration of food and nutrition, and that happens every March. So there's this little visual here, why it's hot, with a little flame. And as I go through each topic, that's sort of going to be the take-home message, why it's hot, why we're looking into these things a little more closely. So just to explain my approach to this. Okay, hopefully you're seeing my slides as I progress throughout this presentation. Okay, so in the grocery store, we're going to look at these 5 topics. And these aren't the only hot things going on. One other thing that it's not listed on this slide is online grocery shopping. So have any of you tried that? Have you done the click list? Or, okay, so I see some have tried it, some haven't. Do you like it? Sort of makes the grocery shopping succinct. So that's another hot thing because it's becoming much more prevalent. Most grocery stores are doing it now. Okay, well let's get busy. So we'll start here with food labels. The reason why I chose this as a hot topic is because the manufacturers have some additional time before they use this new label. So the deadline for the new label was supposed to be this year, July 2018. And now manufacturers have until January 2020 before they use this new food label. So you might have seen it already because some manufacturers are already utilizing it. But if you haven't, there's an extension on the deadline. Now, the reason this is a hot topic is because I feel it's a much more user-friendly label. When you look at it, and the new label is on the right, you see that some of the pertinent information is easier to read. The serving size is more realistic for, a serving that we would actually eat. And the thing that I have circled there is added sugars. And this is what I just can't wait to be on every label because people are confused. If you get yogurt, if you purchase even frozen dinners or tomato sauce, there are natural sugars that exist in foods. But we don't know what comes from the natural food or what is added as an added sweetener. So the new labels will give us that information. So we have to hang tight just a little bit more until all manufacturers are using this new label. That's why it is hot. Okay, so the next topic from the grocery store, and I will address questions at the end. I'll just go over the information so we can keep a steady pace. Food fraud. Okay, so food fraud is the deliberate adulteration, substitution, tampering, or misrepresentation of food. Now, the reason I bring this up is not to scare you. but just to make you aware that this is something that is very real. So the motive behind food fraud is just like any other type of fraud. It is to make money. So fraudsters will take food items, and I'm naming just a few that are high on the risk list. They will take items like olive oil, spices, coffee, honey, maple syrup, fish, seafood, and they will either add something to the product, like they'll cut it, like for instance, olive oil, they might add walnut oil or a cheaper vegetable oil with the olive oil, so they still label it as olive oil, but you're getting something that is not really what the label is representing. So some sources say that food fraud have increased up to 60%. The amount of fake ingredients have increased by about 60% in the last year. So this is one reason why food fraud is hot, because we as consumers have every right to know what is in our food. What it does is it hurts the honest manufacturers. It also can hurt the consumer. So think about this. What if you have an allergy to corn? And what if you buy an olive oil that is cut with corn oil? That consumer could be at risk for an allergic reaction. And that, allergies are nothing to mess with. So that is one reason why food fraud can be harmful. Not just the cost itself, but what it could actually do to the consumer because of misrepresentation. Okay? Costs involved, billions of dollars globally. Billions of dollars because of food fraud. Okay, so I've given you some examples of the foods, the costs, the harms. These are just a few. So what can you do? Well, the first thing that you can do is you can look at the product. And if you see something that looks a little iffy, like if it is too good to be true, it probably is. You can look at the supplier or the retailer. So manufacturers who have a good name for themselves want to keep that good name. And they are going to be more vigilant and more proactive to make sure that their products are pure. And they're going to want to keep their name clean. So you can choose trusted manufacturers. Look at that pricing. If you see an olive oil or a maple syrup or a honey with a price that seems to be too good, then it probably is, because these products do require a higher cost to give us a purer product. Okay? So the other thing that you can do is, when you can, buy whole over processed. So, example here, instead of buying ground spices or spices that are already ground, buy the whole thing and grind them yourself. If you want to buy coffee beans, you can buy them whole and grind them yourself. Now, if this seems like too much, then we all have to be realistic about what we're willing to do. Then just go up to the first mentioned things and make sure you're buying from a good supplier, and make sure that you're buying from a good retailer. It is much more difficult to misrepresent or adulterate a product if it is whole over something that is processed. So it's much more difficult to tamper with a whole food than something that is highly processed. So we talk about, from a nutritional standpoint, choosing whole foods and preparing them simply yourself. This is another benefit of doing that. Okay, and then the other thing that you can do is do your own research. Do your own research. Don't be afraid to use the numbers on your cans, packages, whatever, and talk to the people behind the label. And if you feel that something is wrong, then talk to the agencies that regulate this type of thing. So let me just go back here really fast. You can download these slides. Up in your right-hand corner, there's a PDF, and it contains all of my slides. And I have listed references and websites that you can look at to get better or to get information and contact information if you have concerns. Now, one of the resources that I have on here is at the very end. It's naooa.org, and that is the National Association of Olive Oil in America. And so you can you can take this website, look at it, and it gives you information about how olive oils are regulated in the U.S. That's just one resource. So I bring that up so you can check out the resources that I have because they're helpful. Okay, so just 5 simple things that you can do as a consumer to make sure that you are getting what you're paying for, because we all have that right. Okay, so moving along, we're going to talk about the progression of probiotics. Now, this isn't a new thing, because you look at what our first go-to easy eating source of a probiotic, and that, I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is yogurt, right? And yogurt has been around for a long time. But as we have progressed with probiotics, more products are available that contain these things. Now, when we talk about nutritional genomics and the gut microbiome, big words, I'm going to tie the information about probiotics into that. Okay, so the reason why more products are on the market is because of the benefit that we learn that come from probiotics. So we have moved from yogurt to yogurt drinks like kefir, buttermilk, acidophilus milk. The other pictures on this slide are tempeh. Foods like sauerkraut and kimchi are sources of probiotics. And then you look on the right-hand side, and we're seeing probiotics in things that typically wouldn't contain them, like juice. So the top picture is Tropicana, right at one of our local grocery stores. And Tropicana, a household name, has now added probiotics to their drinks. This other picture below the Tropicana is a juice called Good Belly, and they have added probiotics to their drinks too. So what I wanted to highlight here is just the progression and the addition of probiotics on the market, all the way from the simple go-to yogurt to now household juices. Other things that contain probiotics are plant sources of protein, like your protein powders. They're even adding probiotics to them. So here's what I love to give to people so they can be their own empowered consumers. Check out this website, isappscience.org, and they have a fantastic list of resources so you can understand the truths and the myths about probiotics. Okay, so these are infographics on this slide, and we're just going to take a little closer look at this. Now, this slide to me when I'm looking at it here, is a little bit fuzzy. I don't know what you're seeing, if it's a little fuzzy, but you can download my slides like I mentioned, and then you'll be able to see things very clearly. So looking at this more closely, it delineates what to look for in a probiotic. Okay? If you are taking a supplement, because let's face it, what if you don't like dairy products? Or what if you don't like fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi? Maybe you want to take a probiotic. You want to make sure that you're buying the right thing. And there are specifics that need to be there. For instance, each probiotic has a genus and a species, and that should be listed on the label. And this little picture here tells you that. The other thing that should be on the label is what it's used for. Probiotics are used for different things. Are you interested in regularity? Are you interested in increased immune system functioning? Are you interested in just overall health? The product needs to specify what's going on. The other thing that it should list is how many billion, typically they're measured in billion, of the probiotic is in there. So they are quantifying the addition. And then there should be good contact information. You should be able to look at the company and call the company and ask questions. Now, this is giving you an example for, like, let's say a supplement. What about other foods on your grocery store shelves? Well, sometimes you have to dig a little deeper. For instance, Activia is a yogurt on the grocery store shelves that is known for its addition of probiotic. Okay, yogurt and kefir and any other type of fermented food naturally contains the good bacteria, and that's what's used to ferment the product. Adding a probiotic is a separate thing than just what is used to ferment the food. So if you're interested in understanding what's in your yogurt, then I would go to their website and look for this information. So sometimes you have to dig a little bit more deeply, but as a consumer, that's what we need to do if we are concerned about what we're buying and what's going on into our health. Okay, I need to move along. Ancient grains. How many of you have ventured out and tried things like amaranth, quinoa, buckwheat, millet, spelt? So quinoa is becoming more popular. Some of these are still, a little bit lower on the, oh, I've tried this list. Well, this is becoming more popular, more hot, because these whole grains offer some really nice nutrition. Now, I have pictures here from one of our local grocers, particularly this minute rice. You can see in the middle with the green label, and they combine quinoa with rice. Another picture is black rice. And do you know why it's black? It's an antioxidant that affects the rice. It's an anthocyanin. And that antioxidant is the same one that affects or gives color to blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. But this black rice contains an antioxidant. You can get this at your local grocery store. Bob's Red Mill is another brand that provides good whole grains, beans. Okay, so these are just some products that you can turn to. Now, why are these becoming hot? There's been a lot of speculation as to how wheat has evolved over time. And one speculation is that it's because of the manipulation of the wheat kernel over years and years and years that have given people a higher rate or risk of sensitivity. But those who are trying these ancient grains, because there's been less manipulation, find that they can tolerate them a little bit more. Now, this does not mean that someone with a diagnosed celiac disease can use these ancient grains, because many of them are wheat derived. All that it means is, A, they provide variety to our diets, some excitement because of the different flavor profiles. You cook a lot of these ancient grains from the whole state, and so you cook them with water, so you're avoiding some of the processing. When you cook something with water, they plump up and help us to feel a little fuller. And then the ones in red are naturally gluten-free. Okay? So just some reasons why these are becoming much more popular. My eye is regularly diverting to the questions, and I see one of these things that is very important. Chris, I'm glad you brought this up. Even if something is naturally gluten-free like buckwheat, they are often manufactured or processed or packaged or whatever in the same facilities that package wheat. And so if you have celiac disease, you need to make sure that it is specified on the package gluten-free. Okay? Here's just a little recap as to some of the nutrition of 4 of the ones that I have chosen. A lot of these grains were used anciently in South American countries. Farro was used in ancient Egypt, and you can see per quarter cup uncooked. They provide good energy and a nice little dose of protein. Okay, we're going into functional waters. Just to give you a heads up, we are probably going to be 10 minutes beyond 12:30. Okay, so I'm going to be as efficient as I can. If you have to leave right at 12:30, don't worry, this is recorded. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're probably going to go over a little bit. Okay, so a prevention article recently was titled, Why is everybody drinking aloe water? Have you wondered that? Okay, so I have captivated just four of the waters that are becoming more visible on grocery store shelves. And how many of you have seen cactus water, aloe water, coconut water, alkaline water? So coconut, yes, that's been around for a little while. Aloe is becoming more prevalent, as well as cactus and alkaline. When I look at the grocery store, I hunt for these things, and they are becoming more prevalent. Well, one of the key things I want you to remember here, and this goes for anything, marketing will always run faster than research. Okay? What that means is people who are interested in the benefits of different foods, health products, the marketers are going to address those demands. And they're going to take something that seems like a health benefit and run with it. Now, I'm not saying that this means that aloe doesn't have some great purposes, or the whole concept of alkalinity. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that you have to understand how marketing works. And it's always going to run faster than research, because research takes time and it takes money to fund good research, whereas marketing makes money pretty quickly. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you look here, I've listed calories, carbs, sodium, claims, cautions. Now, some of these are claims for cactus, aloe, coconut, and alkaline water. And then there are cautions. So let's just take a few to look at. Let's take aloe for now. There is some pretty decent research that aloe used topically can be quite beneficial. Research has been done looking at acne, at burns. There has been some research with weight loss. But the thing that you need to be aware of is, even though this is a natural product, there are interactions or side effects that can take place. One is aloe can interact with certain medications. Another thing is any type of juice, if you're not getting a pure product, it is often cut into things like drinks that contain a lot of sugar. Another thing to think about is coconut water is touted for a good exercise or a drink after exercise, like a good exercise replenishment. And after about 45 minutes of exercise, that's true. But if you are a heavy trainer, if you're exercising in hot weather for 2 hours at a time, you need a sports drink. So one of the claims of coconut water is it's a great drink after exercise and it has less sodium. Well, guess what? When you're exercising in hot weather for a long period of time, you need a sports drink that has some sodium in it because you've lost it in sweat. Alkaline waters, there's this big thing now with alkaline waters. You know, alkaline is better than acidic. Well, one thing that the alkaline waters don't tell you is that our body, our blood, our stomach keeps a certain pH for a reason. So if you look at the scale of acidity and alkalinity, we go 0 to 14. 0 to 6.9 is acidic, 7 is neutral, 7.1 to 14 is alkaline. Well, the blood and the stomach keep a really tight control on acidity because the pH because it has to. We have acid in the stomach for a reason. It keeps us healthy. It keeps some of the bad bugs out. Now, does that mean that some alkalinity is okay? Well, sure, there is a purpose. There's been research about how some alkalinity can help with those who suffer from acid reflux. The Western diet seems to be higher in acidic type foods. But if you want to increase the alkalinity, eat more fruits and vegetables. That will naturally do it. Okay, so I'm giving you all of this information. Why it's hot and the take-home message? Do your research. I have listed 2 sources here that are trustworthy for lay audiences. And the reason I like the WebMD, it's the one on the left, is it gives you the food or the product, and then you can click on different things like usage, dosage, side effects, interactions. So there again, when marketing is telling you, oh, this is wonderful, they're not giving you the whole picture. And so if you want the whole picture so you can make informed and empowered decisions, then do a little research. Does that make sense, everybody? Moving on, because time is ticking. Okay, hot topics in nutrition research. Nutritional genomics. What is it and what are the benefits and the barriers and why is it hot? Well, nutritional genomics is the study of how what we eat interacts with our genome. So we see that lovely little strand of DNA there. We are getting down to the cellular level of how the food we eat affects our DNA and our genes. How many of you have ever, as you have talked with people, have said, well, my goodness, this person tried this as far as their diet and it worked for them, but it didn't for me. Or even though I exercise and eat really well, why do I have low HDL cholesterol? That's the good cholesterol, right? So you look at yourself, you talk with other people, and you say, well, why in the world does it work for you but not for me, or vice versa? So over the past years and years, we have grouped nutrition and nutrition recommendations for the whole. We have given these recommendations for the population as a whole because that's what we've had to do. That's what we have had money to do. That's the best way that we have been able to approach the situation. Now, just for a little science, human beings have between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. Most genes are the same from person to person, but less than 1% of these genes are different between people. When you look at less than 1%, you think, oh, well, that's nothing. Well, when you get into the thousands and the bases of the genes, those number in the millions. Then when you look at the, less than 1%, it might not seem like a lot. Well, guess what? Less than 1% of a difference is a lot when you're looking at the molecular level. So what this means is, as humans, we have a lot of things in common. As humans, we are also very different. So how would you feel if in time your DNA could be looked at? We're seeing this already. You see looking at the DNA to see our heritage, Ancestry.com. We're looking at where we came from. Well, this is just an addition to that. We're looking at how our genes and how our food would interact. And so we could get a specific food prescription, if you will, based on our genetics. And what this could do is it could help to mitigate symptoms of current chronic diseases, or it could help in the prevention of chronic disease. Now, one of the barriers is cost. It's pricey, but listen to this statistic. 2001, sequencing the human genome went from 95 million to less than 6,000 in 2013. That is just mind-boggling to me. So what this says is we are making progress. Cost through time will become less of an issue and a barrier, and we will be able to fine-tune nutritional advice for the individual, and that will be beneficial. Exciting, right? New topics of research. Okay, the gut microbiome. I think this stuff is just fascinating. So here we have this little picture of bugs going on in the gut. The microbiome is the entire community of microbes, which include bacteria that live within the GI tract. And what I think is just fascinating is the colon is one of the most densely populated bacterial communities on Earth. Crazy, right? An average measurement of a colon, you don't learn this every day, right? 5 feet in length, 3 inches in diameter. And it's one of the most densely populated bacterial communities. Well, guess what? Yes, Addie, you're right. We have more microbes in the gut than in the cells of the body. That is scientific fact. So what goes on? What's happening? Well, the microbes in the GI tract have a relationship with the endocrine system. And that directly affects appetite regulation. It has a direct effect on our immune system. The bacteria in the gut helps to break down fiber. The bacteria in the gut helps to synthesize vitamins like vitamin K, which is used for many things, including clotting. The bacteria in the gut breaks down different products and creates end products like butyrate, which gives colon cells energy so they can do important things like decreasing inflammation, strengthening the lining of the digestive tract, and increasing intestinal motility. Well, this could be a topic in and of itself. The take-home message is there is a lot that goes on in our gut. And that's why probiotics the topic there is so hot, because we want a diverse and a healthy number of good bacteria in the gut. When we have good bacteria in the gut, it also helps to keep the negative bacteria at bay. Now, why it's hot? Because aside from just general overall health, these are the areas of research that manipulating the gut bacteria can help with. Treatment for C. diff. That's when the bad bugs start to get too high and they overtake the good. Ulcerative colitis, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, irritable bowel syndrome, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. That's a heavy list of things that that the research is increasing for, focusing around how we are populating the microbes in the gut. Now, there's a lot of things that contribute to what our gut bacteria looks like. What we eat, where we live, stress, antibiotic use, probiotic use. But guess what the most influential factor of the gut microbiome is? What we eat over the long term. So what can we do? I'm going to tell you what we can do, and guess what? It's not too exciting, but it's true. Increase fiber. Recommendations for fiber are about 25 grams for women a day, 38 grams of fiber for men a day. When you hit over the age of 50, it decreases a little bit. Okay? Increase your fiber. Where do you get fiber? Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, lentils, okay? Dark greens, yes. Eat a variety of eat a variety of fiber sources. So if you have a salad today, then munch on, if you use, I don't know, dark greens, mixed greens or green leaf lettuce, well, then get some kale tomorrow. Then the next day, get some good broccoli. And instead of eating meat every day, add some beans and lentils. So mix it up, okay? This is what we can do to help fuel a good microbiome. The other thing that you can do is when you're sick, do not overuse antibiotics. Antibiotics are essential for certain infections. But often we just have to run the course of a virus. If we overuse or misuse antibiotics, guess what it does? It wipes out the good and the bad bacteria. Okay? Okay, hot item here, ketogenic diet. It's hot. It's hot because people realize that it can help with all kinds of things, including weight loss. But there's more to it than just, oh, this is the next big thing, okay? So what happens is when you go into the ketogenic diet, when you initiate ketosis, there is a direct pathway that happens to initiate ketosis. And I'll go into that in a minute. But basically what's happening is you either induce ketosis from fasting, and then you drastically reduce carbohydrate to less than about 50 grams per day. That's not a lot, okay? So what happens is the body, it's not getting glucose. So then it goes to the stored glucose in the body. And the stored glucose in the body is basically found in the liver and the muscles. So once the stores are used up, then an alternative source of energy has to be found. Because guess what? The brain is fueled by glucose, and the red blood cells are fueled by glucose. So if the body isn't getting glucose, it goes to plan B. It starts to take stored fats, and it breaks them down. And when you break it down, a ketone body is formed. And these ketone bodies can then provide the body with energy, including the brain. Okay? So, this is the pathway, a simplistic pathway of the ketogenic diet. Some indications for use, and this is where the research is focusing on, it has been used since the 1920s to treat epilepsy. So the ketogenic diet is not new. It's been around for a long time. The first clinical treatment was for epilepsy. Other areas of research include looking at how it can help with metabolic defects like PKU, that's just one, some cancers, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, autism, obesity and diabetes. The take-home message is, A, we're still doing research on it. Remember, marketing runs faster than research. It applies here too. Are there some sound indications for use? Yeah. But true ketosis should be monitored by a doctor. Why? I'm going to go to the, I'll back up just a little bit. Why should it be monitored by a doctor? Well, when you cut out most of the foods that contain carbohydrate, and guess what they are? Fruits, vegetables, dairy, grains. The only foods that really don't contain carbohydrate are pure protein and fat. Protein is limited with the ketogenic diet too, because even protein can raise insulin. So when you cut out such a vast area of food, there is the risk for deficiency, right? So if you're going to do this for some reason, you should be working with a doctor to make sure that you are not deficient in some crucial areas. Here's another thing that they don't tell you about on the web pages. When you increase fat oxidation, you need something called carnitine to make sure that the oxidation of fat is working properly. And if you are low in carnitine because of the drastic increase in fat, your body isn't going to utilize the fat for the energy that it needs. So just be careful that you are savvy enough to not take everything that you read in the magazines or on the web before you understand the science behind it. Okay? Side effects. Short term, possibilities. This doesn't happen with everybody, but these are possibilities. Okay? Nausea, vomiting, constipation, hypoglycemia. Long term, you see this. The reason I bring up ketosis is because it's hot. The other thing you have to think about is it sustainable? Can you eat this type of regime for your entire life? Is it really worth the rigors of the diet, the risks, the side effects for the outcome that you're looking for? I mean, these are all questions to think about. And you know, we put so much emphasis on weight loss. There's more to overall health than just that number on the scale. And so understand the science first. If there's someone who is struggling as a person with diabetes, if there is someone who is struggling with certain cancers, Alzheimer's, there could be a benefit. But it is also monitored and overlooked or overseen by a medical professional. Lastly, I'm keeping you for a long time. Go further with food, National Nutrition Month. This is the theme for March 2018. And I was so thrilled to understand what one of the aspects of Go Further with Food is. And one of the key messages is food waste. We waste approximately 40% of the food we produce. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but when I look at that number, And even if you just take a look around you at how we waste food, from your own refrigerator to restaurants to the huge food manufacturers, this is an issue. One, the environment suffers. And two, just the two that I have listed, there are ethical concerns with the waste that we produce yearly, which quantifies in the billions of pounds. We could address some of the serious global hunger issues that we have. And guess what? It all starts, waste, no matter what it is, we are a very disposable society. It all starts with us, one person. So what can you do? Well, start planning foods, or plan meals with the foods that you have on hand. Look at your pantries. Look at your expiration dates. Label them so they are handy, so they're visible, and utilize what you have. Get creative with leftovers. Take the leftovers from one meal and put it with some different ingredients to make a different meal. If you have leftover ground turkey from a pasta dish that you've made, then make tacos with it the next day, okay? Understand the shelf life of food. Those labels on your foods, there are things that say words like best used by. That doesn't mean that if you don't use it by the used by date that it's bad. It just means that the quality is going to be higher. It doesn't mean that it's unsafe. If you're interested in more information, you can go to eatright.org and search National Nutrition Month and get more information. Thank you for joining me today. Hot topics. I think, Hal, you're right. Each topic could be a different webinar. For those of you who need to go, thank you for joining. If you had to leave early, check out our recording. And I'm going to stop the recording now, but I will stay on and answer questions.